Hi, my name is Ronald Simonar. I'm the heretic author of the Primal Code, a wicked little structural model of a primal universe. It proposes that all is energy. Nothing new in that. Einstein said so a century ago. Energy is all there is, and that's all there is to it. Not quite. Understanding what energy is and how it works remains a mystery to this day. And the extent of our intense search during the last century was never aimed at understanding what we call energy. It was to find ways to measure its interactions in the quantum field. The men in the buggy are particle professors on the road to promising careers. The Primal Code explains how energy works as corporeal mass in our structured world, after having passed through a sieve of three underlying material tiers, as I call these material layers. You refer to the tier below us as elementary particles, and you refer to the next three higher tiers as suns, galaxies, and supergroups. All units on all tiers are collective manifestations of one indivisible mass entity, the primal atom, like the Greeks would have it. The Primal Code is therefore a unified field theory of energy, and my lectures are shorthand sacrileges, just an introduction without the intricate details. This is about understanding. If you are a fellow skeptic of the standard model, you can buy my unabridged Primal Code Heresy in the Kindle format for $1 on Amazon. The primal model stands apart from and is totally independent of the standard model. It is in no way dependent upon any of its cornerstone theories. Absolutely out in the cold in splendid isolation. Wiser heads know that the idea of physics as the realm of pure mathematics is pure pretense. They know that the failure of particle science is being cemented in the career schools of their order. The alternative is always between allowing your flock to question the scriptures or to uphold the power of the church. Being into physics, you may be dreaming of joining the ranks of our foot soldiers in the mathematical trenches. Several generations of brilliant physicists have gone before you. Now it's your turn. This is your life. The only life you'll ever put up as a collateral for an idea. As old age got the better of particle physicists, the memories of devoted careers are darkened by a familiar shadow. There was no breakthrough for humanity. They taught their students the correct ways to attack the problem, but in the rear-view mirror, they saw only futile attempts to break down an apparently impenetrable wall. The greatest defeat in the history of particle physics is its failure to understand matter and energy, to see it for what it is. Yeah, no wonder philosophy fell out of favor. thinkers criticizing calculators. Even mathematicians like Bertrand were found lacking in faith. Nobody is safe in a theocracy. The Primal Code is a philosophical model written as a theoretical framework of principles, a foundation for non-contradictory mathematical theories. Math is always secondary to understanding. Mathematicians used to know that math is meaningless. That is its beauty. 2 + 2 = 4. That is math. It has no meaning. We can affix meaning. Perfect. It makes sense. As a particle physicist, you might want to mess with the meaning. The truth is that simple. The problems with particle physics have nothing to do with its brilliant math. If you want to spot where math goes off the rails, respect the math. Question the meaning. The math is blends. And this looks like high-energy particle physics or monkey business. The battlements of the citadel of the standard model are rampant with all manner of untested beliefs and fortifications. Postulations of the origin of mass, the meaning of gravity, direction of time, interpretation of light speed and its nature, deep confusion on charges, on Planck's constant, on Heisenberg's uncertainty, apples and oranges. In their defense, 4 generations of physicists have been forbidden to dwell on these postulations. While trying to keep the Primal Code from dying on the vine, this 4 centuries old remark by Johannes Kepler gave me cold comfort. I know it will take time for the particle church to embrace the primal universe. They are presently reveling in the glory of a God who created a universe in a millionth of a second. Although God has not been forthcoming on motivation, there is much at stake. The billions poured into building a large hadron collider in CERN and elsewhere. I wonder what they'll make of these new Stonehenges 10,000 years from now. On to firmer ground. In my teens, the proton was a certified elementary particle. Regrettably, a burgeoning particle zoo was slipping out of control at the time, and a quark model had to be construed to rein in the unruly entities. Today, the proton is a recognized cloud made up of smaller particles, a certified composite. Let's praise the epiphany. It is rational. Eloquent. We honor our servants who embrace particle traditions and abhor changes. We observe that universal mass is arranged in a regular tier system. Our elementary particles form suns. Suns form galaxies. Galaxies form superclusters. The maximum number of suns as building blocks for a heavy galaxy is 10 to 14 suns. The next mass tier above galaxies is our local supercluster. Its mass is estimated at 10 to 17 solar masses and several thousand galaxies. The curious quality comes out when you input this number of massive galaxies in a supercluster into a simple formula, squaring twice over. This renders 10 to 14 suns, and you notice that this coincides perfectly with the number of suns in maximum galaxy. The next tier below the galactic tier has units we call suns. So let us input the more secure number, 10 to 14 suns in a heavy galaxy, into a simple formula to see how that fits the required number of elementary particles needed to form a sun. Clearly a massive number of building blocks, in fact 10 to 56 elementary particles. The average universal sun is indeed built of 10 to the power of 56 protons, electrons and neutrons, with the proton certified as a particle cloud. What would you personally think is the likely number of building blocks for a proton as a unit on the underlying tier? Yeah, well, ask your professor for a logical explanation, not a quote from the good book. With another tier to go, why would we wish to violate a perfectly visible symmetry? For the Primal Code, I used our own 10 times heavier sun, 10 to 57 elementary particles, which brought a proton's number of building blocks, they're called matrons, to a staggering number, 10 to 228 building blocks. For logical reasons to do with gravity, the matron units could not be primal atoms and therefore not the final link in the universal chain. And looking deeper for the primal motor of the universe, my heresy became, well, almost diabolic. Before embarking on the broader details of the Primal Code, I must ask you to delete a couple of corrupting programs lurking in your mind, to keep your thoughts separate from material world. Time does not exist. Slay that dragon for me. Dividing the duration of one event into the duration of another event is no more corporeal than the math for distance. Dimensions do not exist. Dimensions are a ghost in the machine, to be deleted. The standard model has but one task: to provide a mathematical method to calculate the field interactions in a way that coincides with experimental results. It's like a fisherman using an effective bait, not to understand the nature of its lure, but because it works. Our world starts with a pair of primal atoms separating spatially out of zero. The tiniest bang ever envisioned. You got that? That's all there is. There is nothing else in the universe. Follow where it leads and you're on your merry way to understand everything. Now these Atlas twins are different from nothing, like +1 and -1, built of no components except themselves, real as physical constants and perfect as mathematical constants. You find the details in the Primal Code. A primal atom has no properties that can have the slightest influence upon other atoms across empty space. However, each split is accompanied by one unique coordinate system. Opposite, like the atoms, it governs every aspect of the perceived relative movement by twin atoms. Perceived movement because the atoms do not move. This is pure relativism, a coordinate comparison. There is no energy here, that's easy to see. There is no gravity. What would that be? The opposite charges are academic and irrelevant except in eventual primal collisions. There is nothing in this equation but twin atoms and a single opposite coordinate system that dictates their universal relativity. Please do not view the adverse primal pair as matter and antimatter, or in any way associate primal atoms with the physics of the Standard Model. That is ignorant of our primal universe. Accept that if two adverse atoms ever again occupy the same spatial zero point, they can, under specific circumstances, turn into zero. Without any release of energy, mind you, just like +1 and -1. Well, first glimpses are rarely accurate. Before you start calculating the bone structure of my behemoth, take its measure with me, understand its nature. That is the beauty of it. With two independent reference points, our universe enters a perfectly tangible existence in a clear conceptual field. The shape of the primal atom does not really matter. For simplicity, I use a spherical shape. It gives an equal diameter on all three of my imaginary dimensions. A measure of length for your math. I name all my primal measuring units Anna, expressed by the small Latin letter A with a tilde, named after my wife Anna. The primal measure of length is R, where R stands for the radius. Actually, it's atomic diameter, as the atom is indivisible. The reason to do that is that on all later mass tiers, a radius works better. our mind can now apply the R unit of length to the growing gap between the receding atoms to define a distance between them. The measure of time is also present. My unit of primal time, RT, is the period it takes a primogenitor atom to complete one rotation on its axis. If applied to a widening distance, it will measure the rate at which two adverse virgins are seen to recede from a common point. This gives us the C splitting speed. At the dawn of creation, we see time for what it is, a division of the duration of one event into the duration of another event. Math without any physical aspect. The single plane axis spin of a newborn twin are also in opposite directions. The spin is another type of perceived relative coordinate displacement. The adverse twins move relatively apart along their common rotation axis line that can point in any universal direction. In all subsequent splits, the new birth spin and linear birth speed are coordinates that are new to the parent. But aside from new virgin coordinates, both twins are seen to move with total adherence to their parental coordinate system. At the point of birth, their new inherent coordinate system is therefore a blend of parental and virgin coordinates. All later generations are identical in size and shape to the first primogenitor atoms, born in their image, causing no change in the universal zero-sum game. K stands for the creation constant, the splitting rate of free atoms. I find no logic to support a constant splitting rate and no logic to support a constant splitting speed. My only recourse is to settle for the oxymoronic average constant. The Primal Code posits an internal discord of zero within a primal atom, where the many identical adverse components alternate to form its material manifestation, which then facilitates a split of a new primal pair from time to time, sometimes or never. This tells us that once every 10 to 1192 AT of primal time, an atom will on average cause a new split. In a great particle cloud like a proton of 10 to 1140 primal atoms, the average values become more constant. By a simple if inaccurate division, a solar radius tells us the measure of a kilometer and an earthly second in primal units. 1 kilometer measured in primal units is a firm constant. So is a second. Neither can be altered by circumstances. I hope you put that dragon to rest. Albeit incredibly tiny, The creation constant is effective in producing new mass. In an atom of 10 to 912 atoms, it splits 3 times 10 to 914 new primal pairs in a single second. Every second it multiplies universe mass 300-fold. My second lecture will be on primal coordinate systems and the effects of primal collisions. These interactions shape our universe and all its tiers of material structures. Study primal atoms and gargantuan structures of material tiers that are unknown to science. The how and why of electromagnetic radiation, not just its measurements. All that before we even reach up to the third misconstrued tier of so-called elementary particles. Your common sense has been tested by the hardship of 1,000,000 lifetimes. Trust your inner logic. Follow me into this world where no man has gone before us. Goodbye for now, until next time.